Hello everyone at Sugar and Spice, it's Kim and Rachel here. So you might get used to us with our random conversations, and my camera's on a bit of a weird one, but what we wanted to talk to you today was about lovely hormones. So I'm a personal trainer and peri to post-menopause qualified, and Rachel introduced herself, but she's an amazing nutritionist and was such a saviour for me, which has ended up like I guess when we've worked together. It's not going slow, it's very annoying. But with regards to hormone health, how it came about and then how it's kind of spurred us on is I came to Rachel, I think I've come to her twice actually.
Yeah, that was
a long time ago.
A long time ago, the first time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
About a year ago. Was it about a year ago the last time?
Yeah, it was actually.
Maybe 18 months, something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually the reason why I came to you. As much as I wanted, obviously, I think naturally for women it's body composition. That wasn't my driver. My driver was because I was having, and I think I have for a long time, really experienced issues with hormones. And oh my god, the amount of times you just be like, oh, it's that time of the month, oh, it's my hormones. But actually I was fed up. Mainly I was really tired before I came on. I would have up and down with my moods. I would have really bad PMS symptoms. When I was younger, I even researched because it was so bad, you could feel that you were absolutely crazy. And I know as much as people joke and go, oh, it's that time of the month, it's actually for a lot of women is so debilitating. It's not just you get physical cramps, it's your mental cognition, and just having these peaks and troughs. And for me, I think for anybody, it's really wanting to feel balanced. And in terms of, I never think these days, I used to really think it's you just sort out your food, you sort out your exercise, and that's all you need to do to feel better. But now, from coming from a holistic wellness space, if I actually look back, Rachel, it's quite funny. Stressful job, working ridiculously late. I was not sleeping, so going to bed really late, getting up really early, not probably having the best sleep because I'd be on my devices. God, just saying how bad I was. No, I'm not. But it was I think the biggest thing for me was the stress levels and the stress management, and from a fitness perspective, thinking it's better, you used to think more is better, when actually that was actually probably the biggest thing that I think was causing my hormone disruption. But I'll let Rachel explain as to why. But yeah, I came to you, didn't I, because I was having real issues and I just got fed up with it.
Yeah, and I think this is the important thing, is that I hear so many women and so many, of all ages, going through any kind of hormonal stage. And the really frustrating thing that I think comes from everybody is that they go to the GP and they'll have a couple of tests and everything's going to come back normal. And the reason that they all come back normal is because you haven't got any underlying pathology, so to speak. So, if women are suffering with PMT, or they get anxious around a certain time of the month, or they feel like they're going through perimenopause, what will happen is they'll go to the GP, they'll get the blood test, and the GP will go, oh yeah, well, everything's normal. But you're looking at certain parameters within those particular blood tests. And what I explain to everyone is that you say you've got your low level here, high level here, and between here is the range that the GP would say was normal. But you could be on the high end of low, the low end of low, or the high end of high, and you can still get symptoms within those ranges, but you wouldn't necessarily be eligible to then go on to an endocrinologist and get some help hormonally from that point of view. And then the only real solution that women have from a medical perspective is to go on synthetic hormones. And for some women that works, absolutely. There is a place for these these medicines, but for a lot of women, they've got to a hormone imbalance because of certain factors within their lifestyle. And from my point, I'm a functional nutritionist, so my job is to kind of really unpick a person's time or health timeline and find out what's actually happened to that person, you know, right from before they were born. You know, what was their mum's hormones like? What were their mums doing while they were pregnant? How was the birth? What type of birth did you have? How were you fed as a child? All those factors can have an impact on hormonal health later on down the line. And although some of it may be genetic, you're not tied by your genes to a certain extent. Your environment actually determines whether those specific genetic factors are going to switch on or off. So when we're looking at female hormones, it's such, oh God, Kim, it's a massive subject. So in your particular case, you know, stress was really you know, it was kind of sending alarm bells and triggers that, okay, potentially this was an area that we could look at balancing that could effectively then have a positive impact on how you manage your stress. And I think it might be a good time to talk about, you know, the progesterone steal and how fat metabolizes in the body.
Was like a revelation, like the progesterone steal.
Yeah, because, you know, when you actually understand how the body works, it kind of, you're like, oh, it's almost like a bit of a light bulb moment. So we all hopefully have heard of cholesterol and what cholesterol is. So cholesterol is a fat. It is either made in the body or you can get it from the diet, but primarily it's made and it's synthesized and made in the liver. And one of the jobs that cholesterol does is it will go on to make hormones. So there is a kind of master hormone, as I call it, called pregnenolone. And you don't have to remember these names, they're all quite irrelevant. But what pregnenolone does is it will go on to make cortisol, which is a hormone that you need to manage stress. And it also goes on to make progesterone and estrogen. So if you're pushing, or if you're coming from a high stress either job, or you're just a highly stressed person, there's lots going on in your life, you're pushing, your body is going to preferentially make cortisol at the expense of progesterone and estrogen. So there's going to be a slight imbalance there. And also what happens in response to stress is that the detoxification pathways are inhibited. They're not, you know, they'll always work, don't get me wrong, your liver's not going to fail and you're not going to end up highly toxic as a result of it. But when I say things get out of balance, they're not working optimally. That's where I'm coming from. And so when your liver is not working as effectively, all of your hormones, not just estrogen, but every single hormone that is used by your body will end up in your liver to be detoxified and sent out of the body, normally through the stool, through the digestive tract and out into the stool. So what happens is the body will take the hormone, take it to the liver packages it up, you know, packages it all up really neatly so that it can safely be taken out of the body. That's great. If you have issues within the digestive tract, so if you have IBS, you have, you know, problems digesting food, constipation, all those factors can create an imbalance with the gut bacteria that live perfectly happy within your digestive tract. And there's a particular enzyme that can overgrow or become abundant in a gut that isn't particularly balanced in its good and bad bacteria. And what can happen is when those hormones are kind of put into the digestive tract, this particular enzyme that can overgrow can detach the hormone away from the particle that's meant to be taking it out.
Is that the beta-glucuronidase? Is that?
Yeah, so the enzyme's called beta-glucuronidase.
I did learn something.
Yes, you learned something.
I'm learning from my
I don't like to bombard people with a load of scientific terms because people go,
I know what it is.
What the hell? And so beta-glucuronidase is the enzyme that will be abundant in that situation where your gut is out of balance. And so you've got your free hormone just floating around, and then you've got your detoxification particle, and they've both detached from each other. And so what that gives the gut the opportunity to do is reabsorb that hormone. And so over time, you can then be dominant in a particular hormone. So for instance, if you suffer from PCOS, for instance, polycystic ovarian syndrome, you're more than likely going to be reabsorbing a lot more testosterone and not detoxifying testosterone as effectively. For women who suffer with things like, you know, PMT, and all of those kind of hormonal issues, it'll be estrogen. So you become dominant in that particular hormone.
So true.
So part of managing hormones is to, one, identify where your stress is coming from and put some management tools in there, and two, it's working on the liver and the gut to ensure that the clearance of estrogens is healthy and it's quick and it's not having the opportunity to become detached and reabsorbed. And of course, diet and nutrition are the kind of third factor that pulls into all of that.
No, it's so interesting. And I think when obviously like you're learning from a perimenopause stage, like the biggest thing I saw as a trainer, and which is why I got into it, is because I had so many women come to me, like even at the age when I was 21. And we just, at that time, I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand that stage of life, why women dumped it on their midsection. So you would get like a thicker middle, and then like you'd have these skinny legs, and you could see these women, it would destroy them because they were working so hard. We'd be like, right, you need to work out more. And it was such, knowing what I know now as a female, why that's not the right way ahead. Because as you say, if you're stressed, like you've got chronic stress, your body's prioritizing the production of cortisol, which is going to affect your blood sugar levels, which Rachel, you can explain a bit better than me. But also the fact that the belly fat, as your estrogen levels are dropping, is what's producing estrogen. So you know, that's the biggest area for women, isn't it? They feel that they lose themselves because they're working and they're stressing out because they're changing of age, and they can't understand why their bodies, what used to work, doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and it's all to do, you know, the body's is storing fat around the middle because that is a perfectly normal physiological thing for the body to do. So when the body is in a state of stress constantly, the body perceives that as a danger, and so it needs to manage that. And to be able to manage that, it will dump hormones, it will dump fat, it will dump all of the things that the stress response is doing around the middle, because that's the quickest place for it to kind of store it.
Yeah, it's like we don't like it, but you know, it's doing its job what it's supposed to, isn't it?
100%. But then what happens is, and what women get into the cycle of doing, is thinking, right, okay, well, I'm storing fat around the middle. I'll go with the current paradigm that's out there, which is exercise more, eat less. Those two things, what do? They stress your body even further. So the more you cut your calories, the more your body is going to feel stressed. The more you exercise and the harder you train and the more physically exhausted you get, your body is going to perceive that as a stress. So you're constantly going to be feeding that particular cycle. And we've seen it with many women, haven't we, Kim, that when we say, just chill, just take a step back, just, you know, focus on some breath work, focus on taking down your exercise levels, because you need to rebalance, you need to calm all of these biochemical processes down.
Well, you need to, like, as I said to you, like when I came to you, the reason why I was like, I didn't just go, I was exercising a lot and my diet wasn't great. It wasn't like terrible, but like knowing the new balance for what works best for my body. Yeah, I never took in this whole world picture of like work was stressing me. I wasn't getting enough sleep and all these things that support your hormonal system. But like with the movement side, when I was younger, like I said to you before, and I had this, and what I'm seeing from a lot of women is, I used to plan in, I would teach classes and I wouldn't class it as my exercise. Then I would be like, right, I have to do 4 or 5 classes. I would try and make sure that I trained. I would feel guilty if I didn't train 6 times a week. And I remember going to, it's really interesting because we place our self-worth on if we're good or bad, if we've exercised or not. And then I remember going to strength and conditioning gym, and men's perspectives on it is very different, I find. And they were like, you're overdoing it. And at that time I wasn't ready to listen. I wasn't ready to receive that information. But what I really learned is actually train with purpose and effectiveness, and And rather than associating your self-worth to like your exercise, enjoy it. It's not like if you've eaten something, you need to exercise more and you need to punish your body, because when you're performing grueling workouts, if you're not seeing progress, so you like, are you measuring numbers, or like you just go to a class and you're like, I just don't have it today. I get those, especially like with my cycles, I get those days, but I used to ignore it because I would see that I've eaten something, I need to, because at that stage I was on this journey, and it wasn't until I was like, right, let's really look at this. So strength training is a must for women regardless of age, because it boosts your bone density, it boosts your hormones, it boosts your testosterone. No, it doesn't make you all beefy and everything like that, but it's a female sex hormone, which I didn't know, which was quite interesting. But 3 times a week strength training, quality, maybe 40 minutes, stressing the system. You want to stress the system for like small bursts rather than a continual, like if you're driving your car 100 miles an hour forever, your car is going to break. Whereas if you drive a short period, pull in, refuel, drive a short period, pull in, then it's fine, and it's okay to listen to those ebbs and flows. So like you said, with the restorative side, that's actually triggers the hormones for your body to rest and reset and repair. And people don't realize that the workouts actually is where the damage to the body is occurring. So if you're always damaging yourself, and people see it as a badge of honor to have DOMs sometimes, you know, but you get people come to me and they'll be like, oh, I don't ache anymore. I'm like, that's not a bad thing at all. It's not a great sign of honor. And if you're constantly training on those DOMs, you're never gonna heal and repair or see progress.
No, absolutely. And that's a really dangerous situation for women to be in from a metabolic point of view. You know, and you're never then going to get the balance, because you're always going to be trying to attain to a specific workout that's just, you know, where do you stop with it? Because your body does get used to a certain level of training, and
absolutely.
So it's you know, the female hormones are so neglected in the diet and fitness industry. So I think that's kind of where our USP is, really, because we do have a kind of innate understanding about those hormonal fluctuations and how they need to tie in with the feminine cycle, because you know we run in two distinct phases, although there's lots of different hormones working at the same time. You know, before you ovulate, you're going through what they call the follicular phase of your cycle, and then after ovulation you're in the luteal phase of your cycle.
Is that when the progesterone rises? Sorry.
Yeah, the progesterone rises in the second half of the cycle, so it will be ready. The progesterone will be there to kind of, if you become pregnant, the progesterone will keep that baby viable, will keep the fetus viable until the placenta takes over producing progesterone after that point. So in the first half of the phase, I've written this down because I can never remember which way it goes round, and I
like, which way does my cycle work?
Which way does it go? So in the luteal, in the kind of first half of the phase, so before ovulation, that's the time where the estrogen levels are going to be rising. So that's when your brain is going to be more alert. It's when you're going to be more sociable, obviously, because you're looking for a mate to fertilize that beautiful egg that's going to be popping out of your own. So evolution has made us more sociable around that time. So these are, you know, this is the time when it's, you know, really important to have social engagements and be around people. But equally, what that boost of estrogen can produce feelings of anxiety and brain fog. So so
like the day before I'm anxious and I'm like, why?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is just that natural rise in estrogen, but equally that could be because you're quite estrogen dominant, as we know anyway. So that extra boost of estrogen is going to create those particular symptoms. And then if you're say testosterone dominant, you would probably get low mood, and you'd probably be more on the lower side of your mood rather than the hyper side of your mood. So it just depends on what hormonal fluctuations are going in. So this phase of the cycle, you need to be really focusing on the smoothies and the salads and the raw foods, and low carb works really well in this cycle as well, as does higher intensity workouts, so you
Yes.
you can tend to
or
push
strength
yourself.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can tend to push yourself a lot harder in this particular phase, because you generally are in a more rested state, and then you obviously ovulate, and then you're into your luteal phase, and so the raw foods are probably not so good in this phase. So what you're looking at in this phase is kind of, you want richer, denser proteins, you want more complex, higher carbohydrates. And what we find with a lot of women who are on particular diets is that they'll eat very similar foods all the way through their cycle. When they'll get to after ovulation and heading towards periods, the classic symptom is they crave more sugar, that's when the sugar,
they fall off the wagon though, and it's like beat yourself up.
But it's because your body is naturally craving or needing more carbohydrates for that part of the cycle. So it's really important to up your carbohydrates. But what women are doing is thinking, oh my God, I can't eat, I can't eat these foods, and then suddenly it just gets to a point where the body's like, we need this food, we need some carbohydrate. And so you end up a lot of women can end up binging, and so that week before you actually menstruate, that's when the carbohydrate kind of cravings are a little bit out of control, because you probably haven't allowed for that straight after ovulation.
Oh, it's so true. It's just upsetting though, because obviously the dietary industry never focuses on the female health. So this whole psychology of I've been bad, I've fallen off the wagon. All you're actually doing, you've not fallen off the wagon, you've actually been intuitive to your body's needs, and that's the same with training.
Yeah, I mean, the research out there is saying that in your luteal phase, your calorie need goes up by 9 to 16% during that particular phase. So you're not talking about loads, but it's still, if you think about that on a cumulative daily amount, that's quite significant when you think about it in terms of...
Yeah, absolutely. But you also need calories to train, Rachel, and that's if a lot of women want to gain muscle, well, we need to fuel our bodies with the right nutrients and energy, and actually we are allowed to eat, and we've been told for so long that we're not.
We're not allowed to. It's this thing. It's the if you want to lose weight, if you want to achieve this amazing body composition, then it's low calorie, high intensity exercise. The other issue that we have as well is that this is a real personal opinion here, and so this is open to discussion, and it's something that we could perhaps open up to the group, is that hormones, the female hormone cycle has been so male-ized, if that makes sense. So
I remember you saying about this.
So kind of like you go to the medical profession and they are I've got problems with my hormone. Okay, so there's this pill. Take this one hormone and everything will be okay. So we've had generations of women on synthetic hormones from the moment they start their periods, and there aren't any real medical studies because it's so hard to test obviously the effect that has on women. But one thing that we do definitely know is that the pill depletes vitamins and minerals such as magnesium, B vitamins and calcium, which is really important when you're thinking of bone health. And also it really disrupts the health of the gut microbiome, which is the good and the bad. It's the gut
more like
Absolutely. So from the moment women go on the pill, their gut health, their microbiome, their good and their bad bacterial balance is going to be affected. And then we know now through research into the gut bacteria and the makeup of that is that certain disruptions, certain overgrowth of particular bacteria and yeasts and fungi can then go on to cause rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune disease, depression, all of those problems that we're seeing now, not caused by the pill, but that's one factor.
It builds up over time, doesn't it, if you think how long?
Absolutely.
Am I wrong in thinking, I don't know if I'm wrong on this or not, if you start to put synthetics into your system, like say for instance with estrogen, does your body then acknowledge that it's being produced or ingested somewhere, so it starts to output less itself? I don't know if that's right or not.
It will, no, but there's two schools of thought with it. So your body's very good at regulating itself. For instance, when you're looking at cholesterol is a really good one to look at, because when you're, say for instance, you've been diagnosed with high cholesterol, the medical profession will say, right, well, you need to take cholesterol out of the diet, you know, reduce cholesterol foods, rich foods, which is that's pretty benign advice, because your body makes 70 to 90% of cholesterol anyway. So the fact that someone has high cholesterol is actually a metabolic issue rather than a dietary issue. Although diet, and you know, if you've got, you know, high fats and high sugars coming through the diet, then that can affect the way that cholesterol is metabolized, but it's not particularly you know, take cholesterol out of the diet, everything will be okay. That's not the case at all. So I think if you're putting in, you've got to look at the hormone system as a whole system. So the main control center of all of the hormones is in the brain. So you've got the pituitary gland and you've got the hypothalamus, which then control all other hormone systems. So you've got the thyroid hormone network, you've got the sex hormone network, you've got the digestive hormone network, you've got the blood sugar hormone network, and they all work synergistically with each other. So when someone is going to you know, work out, you know, where they've got an imbalance, you need to take into consideration
as a whole.
You know, you can't, well, I don't feel, you can in some, and I'm not saying that it's the wrong thing to do, because women do well on synthetic hormones. I mean, if you've got an underactive thyroid, you need to have thyroid replacement hormone. That's just a given, you know. But the argument is when you're looking at someone from a whole picture, is it appropriate to just substitute one hormone when there's hundreds and hundreds of others that work in that particular environment as well? So coming back to that question of, you know, what does the body do when it's given synthetic hormones? The synthetic hormone will work in a certain way, but it won't work in the exact way. So it will do what it needs to do.
It mimics to a degree.
It mimics what it needs to do. So potentially, if you're estrogen dominant and you put in an estrogen progesterone pill, that's going to send someone absolutely anxious. That's going to send someone into a massively low mood. It's going to completely
I can't be on them. I cannot be on them, because I got massively, I had depression and massive mood swings, and I did not know what the hell was going on. And it was, you know, I know it's trial and error and seeing what works with your body, but
it is.
I couldn't. And I spoke to my mum, and she said she was exactly the same. So what you were going back to in terms of like looking at genetics and down the family line, it's so true. And that can be the same if you're going to go through menopause, like look at the age that you did, isn't it, and look at what experience, like symptoms they experience, because it can be quite an indicator.
Absolutely. But then that's not to say that, you know, I've had some women sitting in my clinic who have been on the pill forever, their whole kind of hormonal life, and then they've moved over to HRT, gone through the menopause, and everything's fine. So
which is great.
Which, you know, which is fine if that, but a lot of people's bodies don't work in that similar way. You know, that's the perfect scenario from that synthetic point of view, but not all women fit into that category. And that's why I think so many women resonate with what we're doing, because it's something that isn't really talked about, and it's not something that's in the public domain with regards to hormone fluctuations and what they actually mean from a diet and fitness perspective.
I think it's really simplified, and I think, you know, for women, like estrogen can be really demonized, and it's not really understood. Actually, it's one of the greatest things for women for their health, and you know, everything needs to be in a balance, and as you say, like work together in harmony. It's when it's out of disharmony that you're going to experience symptoms. And actually we only perceive the symptoms as good or bad, but once you understand what you can do to help it and to support it, because mine was so much was lifestyle, hugely, and that was coming from like a mental place of beating myself up, or feeling that I had to do more would be better, and just not understanding what my body needed. But coming to you and having that understanding of, like, once I understood estrogen and dominance, I now have like a checklist of like wellness that I do with my ladies as well. So it makes such a difference. One of the biggest ones that I found changed for me was sleep.
Yeah, sleep is massive, because that's when you do the majority of your detoxification and your repair. So that makes absolutely perfect sense. And sleep is just a massive lifestyle major thing that you can do to help improve all manner of issues. It's just one of the most amazing things. But when you're looking at how you can support hormones, there's so much you can do with nutrition and lifestyle. So yes, sleep, definitely, that's one of them. Mindfulness, stress management techniques. But from a nutrition perspective, things like flax seeds and chia seeds, low fibrous foods to kind of help the stool pass through the digestive tract really easily. Cruciferous vegetables, so your kales, your broccolis, your cauliflowers, your Brussels sprouts, your cabbage, they contain a component which actually helps to detoxify the estrogens and other hormones going through the liver detoxification pathways. So those particular foods are amazing. And it's just simple things like that. It's not overloading the digestive tract. It's chewing your food properly so that you're able to digest your food as effectively. Probiotic foods, so probiotic-rich foods, kefir and natural yogurts are going to give you good bacteria going through the digestive tract. And taking a probiotic supplement, a lot of people get really good benefit from that. But I would recommend people speaking to myself before they take supplements, because even though probiotics are considered the wonder pill, they can still cause symptoms in people with really imbalanced gut bacteria. So it's always best to get advice on that first. And exercise, it's not about vilifying exercise, but it's about getting the right balance, isn't it?
It's the execution of it and understanding, like, I think it's come from the Jane Fonda era that more cardio is better. It's not about the cardio that's going to keep your weight down, when actually we should be supporting our muscle function, and especially from the perspective of, as our estrogen levels decline coming up to perimenopause to menopause, we haven't got estrogen, which is bone, heart, brain protective. So strength training, is going to boost your testosterone serum. It's going to give you more energy, your sex hormones for like your libido and stuff like that, but also your bone density, and also our mobility from perspective. So you have to be, your body starts to kind of almost, as you say, take more of a male profile when you go through the menopause, and actually your mobility starts to become really restricted, because actually estrogen is what makes our muscles elastic. And as you start, if you've got a high sugar diet, high in alcohol as well, it's almost like, think about pouring syrup onto those connective tissues, and actually you start to reduce your mobility and range of movement. And if you just think from a day-to-day perspective, if you want to feel you've got vitality to do your day-to-day activities, go shopping, bend down, pick up your pants or anything, that strengthening aspect, it doesn't, and you do need to be challenged. As much as I used to, like in classes, see like women doing 1 kilo weights, it's like, we can lift more, we are strong, and it's getting that right balance with stimulus. And more isn't always better, in terms of like when it comes to training, only progress and make small variable changes so that you get more as you go, sort of thing. And it's just having that confidence, because I think a lot of women are very either nervous to go into the weights area because they have this notion, the amount of times as a trainer they go, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get big, and they don't want to bulk out. But it's like, it's misunderstanding that we don't produce enough of that hormone to do that. And you've worked with bikini competitors, and the amount they have to eat, the quantity that they have to train, it's just not feasible to build up to that size. There's different aspects going on there, but what you will do is you'll improve your body composition, your ability to deal with insulin spiking and everything like that a lot better. But 3 times a week seems to work perfect for me, and it's rather going for intensity, quality of movement, and building up someone's confidence that they know what they're doing. in a facility.
And the other thing to touch on as well is that actually for women to carry a bit of fat around their legs and their bums and thighs is not a bad thing. And in fact, that's a really good thing for when estrogen levels start to decline, because there is going to be a source of estrogen to tap into once those hormone levels have started to decline.
Mm-hmm.
So again, women punishing themselves to kind of get rid of all their cellulite and, you know, not have any fat on the body is
Mm-hmm.
not going to be the most healthiest goal to achieve, you know, once you've gone through menopause. So
but then that's another topic in itself, isn't it? Like with whole body image.
Completely different topic, yeah.
But
But it's
brain
just
health,
highlighting the fact that, you know, our bodies do what they're doing what they should be doing, yeah. So it's yeah, it's about, you know, just getting balance with it, and yeah, mind and body reset. Hey,
it is. I think like that it's quite good because you come from the real scientific point of view, and then I break it down and be like, well, it's like a car, just to simplify, in terms of like, well, what action steps can women do? Because it's like, okay, great, so we understand this process, but what the hell can we do? And it's actually not getting bombarded and thinking that you have to do loads. It's like, well, we talk about the big rocks of wellness, stress management. How do you manage your stress? And you've talked about mindfulness, taking that moment to actually breathe. When we perform deep breathing, it actually takes us into our parasympathetic nervous system. So like when your brain goes, oh right, so you can chill, let's come in, let's bring all those things in that we need to repair. See, I explain it a lot awesome, without the science. But yeah, no, so in terms of like restorative exercise, really, really beneficial. If you're wanting to see fitness improvement, build that and embed that into your training. And that doesn't have to be an hour out of your day. That could be 10 minutes deep breathing. That could be 20 minutes with a class from a phone app. And very much of the landscape that's changed these days, it can just be going for a walk. You don't have to go to a facility anymore. Sleep, as I said, that is such a fundamental.
It's key, isn't it?
Honestly, I feel like I always used to have this mindset that I wasn't a morning person. Don't get me wrong. Still don't talk to me for about 20 minutes. But I relied on caffeine. But what it was doing was actually, I used to think that I experienced anxiety, like I was an anxious person. I was living off my nerves because I was having so much caffeine and going from fix to fix to keep me going. And also with the fact that you were saying, like, in terms of, I've got quite low progesterone, I believe, because literally the day before my period, I am so anxious. With something you can do with that, I would really recommend for any women to download a period tracking app and track when your period is happening, and you can start to see your mood and symptoms around, you know, your ovulation phase. For me, it's coming up. If I was starting to think, oh my God, why am I acting a bit moody, shall we say, I can look at that and be like, oh, okay, there's nothing going on in my life that's going wrong. It is just my body is probably saying, go and take yourself to sleep, or, you know, go for a walk. And that's a biggie. Sleep, definitely. Nutrition, Rachel, I cannot thank her enough for how much she helped me with that and just explaining the estrogen cycle. But again, I revert back to old ways because I'm quite a carb monster, but I know that I need to get more vegetables into my diet, and lots more fats. Like, the fats has been key. And I'm not a great chef. If anyone's seen the group, they'll see my food posts. But it doesn't need to be complicated. It can seem quite overwhelming if you're not a chef, with recipes. Like for me, when I first got them, I got overwhelmed because I was like, I cannot do it. And then I followed it. I didn't kill my housemate, and it's starting to form a new habit. And some days I just take the principles and the quantities and make my own meals. They don't look pretty, but they work. And that was such a big thing. Movement, huge. I was very much cardio, I want to lose weight. But what I found was that my body composition, I was just kind of like a bag of bones, really. And actually that can start to actually affect your bone health. When I was younger, because I was training so much, not eating enough, my period stopped for about 10 years. But I wasn't ever underweight. I was healthy. I wasn't anorexic or anything like that. But my body prioritized, like you were saying, this pregnant alone still, make cortisol rather than this. So training with purpose, having a training plan. And everyone thinks that exercise should be really simple. It's the same as like nutrition, isn't it? You know, we know what to eat, but actually education can really help. I would never expect to go and be a childminder and look after kids, because I wouldn't have a flipping clue. I still don't. But there's professionals that can help you and educate you along the way with the process. So what have we got? So that's the big ones. Was there anything? Oh, an environment. So from a perspective of, like you were saying, like with plastics and things like that, so you've got what are called xenoestrogen. So, you know, look at your bottles, are they BPA free? Because again, it gets recirculated into the system, raising your levels. And your relationships, not necessarily like your personal ones, it could be your friendships, it could be your work relationships, it could be clutter around the house. That's all going to elevate your stress levels. And so it's being really aware of those key things. So it doesn't have to get all sciencey, but that will really affect your hormone levels. I think that's covered everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it has. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, there is a lot with regards to hormone health, and we've actually given quite a lot of information here, so I hope you don't all feel bombarded by everything, but you know, hopefully it'll help you to understand that this isn't just about taking one synthetic hormone and everything will be okay. There's so much more to hormonal health, you know, and so many really simple and effective tools that you can do to help bring back a balance. So what we'll do over the course of the next 3 weeks is I'll start releasing some information on what Kim just touched on with regards to xenoestrogens. You know, there'll be stuff coming up on sleep management tools. So although it may feel that you've got a lot of information here, we're going to be drip feeding that information out so it's a little bit more understandable and a little bit more digestible, so to speak, so that, you know, hopefully by the end of this 4 weeks, you'll have a better understanding about, you know, how your body is working and the tools and the tips and the tricks that you can use to help balance that out. So yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot there, Kim. That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's just saying that you're not a failure. Like if you're having these ups and downs, it's physiology a lot of the time. And once you realize it's your body and you have the power to affect that, and you can have the power to change it, it's quite exciting.
It is.
And you're not crazy. And like for a long time with this association with mental health, you know, your lifestyle factors will massively, it's not saying that doesn't exist, but actually, you know, as I said to you, like my anxiety, it wasn't actually anxiety, it was my adrenals like pumping up and trying to move me. Do you know what I mean? So exercise can really help on that front, but it's just playing around and starting to listen to your body rather than judge it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's key.
Your body will own, even when it's not in balance, it's only doing what it needs to do to protect itself. So everything that the body does, so fat storage, you know, all of that, it's a protective mechanism, and it's just about interrupting the pathways that make that happen. So I think that's good.
Really good. Sorry, I was a bit distracted. The rabbits have just run into the house.
I have to shut the door, otherwise I get like kids and dogs and all sorts coming through.
Like, there's 5 rabbits behind me. We have 5 rabbits in the house.
Oh, I saw them actually on Instagram. They're so cute. Oh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, we have 5 rabbits. Rabbits do what rabbits do.
Yeah, they do.
That's what they do.
There you go. Oh, cool.
Right, well, fabulous. I will stop the recording. So thank you, ladies. I hope you find it helpful. If you've got any questions, just let us know.
Ping us a message.
Okay.